Welcome to what would normally be scheduled as an Animanga Society episode, but made a couple changes around here. We are now the Binge Watch Brigade. Jim Bob Joe here, talking to you live with Mr. Jay-Z. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm just fine. How are you?
Doing great, man. Glad to be back over here on the mic, and we have a new Pokemon entering the arena today. Ajax has joined our little ragtag group here. We're happy to have you around, man. How you doing?
Thanks. Glad to be here. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about anime.
Absolutely. That's really what started this show with us was just all of our love for anime and really starting to explore, and we've really tried to turn this into something that will expand our horizons with things that we wouldn't normally want to watch. And I dragged you two into a fever dream, didn't I?
Absolutely.
That's one way of putting it. Fever dream is definitely a phrase that could be used here.
The fever dream I'm referring to is a Netflix anime called Dorohedoro. Wild story on this one, man. It takes you in so fast. Like, in the very beginning, the first thing that happens is you're like inside of a alligator-y type of mouth looking at some dude. It's such a weird way to start.
Yeah.
Not to mention the intro. The intro is pretty wild.
Trippy,
Very pretty
trippy.
crazy.
Yeah, it is an acid trip for sure.
Definitely gave me kaleidoscope vibes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much depth to this story that I didn't really expect to be there whenever I first started it, and I know it overwhelmed you guys at first. Like, there was so much information that gets dropped in every episode. It almost seems like you watched two.
Right. We watched like 4 episodes the first night, and I feel like I watched an entire season of some other shows.
Yeah. But not all that information was relevant or important, I would say. There were tidbits here and there that were super important, but the vast majority of information was simply just world building.
Right.
Which there's a lot to build on, though. The two main...
I love the world building aspect.
The two main areas that they focus on is the world of the sorcerers and the hole. The hole is where all the normal humans live. And the humans do get tested on by different sorcerers. They'll come out of their plane and use doors that they create through their magic, which is actually kind of a cool way that they do it, where they generate smoke.
Yeah.
And the smoke is actually how they get their power. But there's different levels of sorcerers, to where there's really high level sorcerers, and then there's other people that either can't produce smoke, but they're still a sorcerer, or they produce very little, or they have very ineffective magic.
Right, it's all
Which those are really
based on how much smoke you can produce, what type of smoke it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the first two people that you really meet, Fujita and Matsumoto, those two are essentially just like no-name people.
Yeah, really. They're basically barely above human.
Yeah. But in that first bit, the main character, Kaiman, who is it's a human from the neck down, but from the neck up, he's basically just a giant lizard man. Mm-hmm. It helps that he's tall. But he keeps taking sorcerers and either killing them, or he will stick their head in his mouth, and he will essentially he has a person that's like living inside of him, and they really don't explain that in the very beginning. And the individual looks at the person and tells them, "You're not the one." And Kaiman removes that sorcerer Matsumoto from his mouth and asks him what the guy said. And as soon as Matsumoto responds with, "You are not the one," Kaiman just ends up killing him, just slicing him into pieces. Mm-hmm. So pretty brutal first kill too. Right. And then those two end up getting away, and
Fujita does.
Fujita ends up getting away because Matsumura's hand summons a door that lets him out. And that's where you really meet the main two characters of the show, which are Kaiman and Nikaido, which is a blonde woman who is with him. She runs a restaurant in the city, which Kaiman is absolutely obsessed with her gyoza. You find out throughout the show gyoza is like really important to him.
I mean, as it should be. Gyoza should be important to everybody.
Yeah.
Have you had gyoza? Like, good gyoza?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't fault that man one bit.
So once Fujita ends up getting back to the spirit world, he goes and talks to En, which, I mean, you guys even thought that En was, I don't know, did you guys think he was, like, just influential, or did you think he was even powerful? Because he obviously has respect.
I don't know. I thought when you first meet him, I thought he was just going to be the most pure evil dude ever, but I don't really see him that way. Like, I don't think he's definitely not a good guy.
No. He just cares about Kikurage.
Kikurage.
He gave me big bad vibes at first, but like as the story went along, you're just like,
Yeah,
like,
he definitely.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
Yeah, he definitely has. You know, he's not out maliciously to like take people down, but he will absolutely get rid of people in his way.
Yeah, they definitely do things throughout the season to make you, I don't want to say like him, but enjoy him.
Yeah. Whenever you watch, like, just the progression of the main two characters, there's a lot with coming to grips with the way things are with, you know, the sorcerers come down and they test on people. They're trying to figure out what's going on with Kaiman, because you learn that Kaiman has no memory. He has no idea what happened to him. He starts having crazy dreams and nightmares.
That first dream where the dude inside of him basically just steps out of him and walks away. And you don't know it's a dream. Yeah.
Right? So with the beginning of it, they end up trying to celebrate and go to get wasted drunk, and then they cut over to the next scene where Kaiman is throwing up into the bathroom, and Nikaido says, "Wow, you never really throw up whenever you drink." And he says, "Yeah, I must have had something bad." And then out of nowhere, he just shoots blood to the ceiling, which just, like, covers the ceiling. And then this guy just crawls out of his mouth, and Kaiman falls over.
That was wild. That was wild.
Shortly after that is when you meet two of my favorite characters in the
love them. I think they are my favorite characters in the show. Kaiman and Nikaido are great, but Shin and Noe are amazing.
Absolutely. And once you find out about their dynamic and all the stuff with, like, Noe, I think is way, way interesting. Mm-hmm. Granted, Shin's background is super cool too, but I really like Noe's backstory, and she is such a cool character because people don't even realize it's a woman at first because she's gigantic.
She's jacked.
Yeah, muscle mommy.
Muscle mommy.
Muscle mommy.
And one of my favorite characters is Ebisu.
Ebisu is so good. When Fujita goes to En in the very beginning, he gets the task to, one, he has to find a new partner. Secondly, he has to find out who placed the spell on everybody in the sorcerer's world just kind of calls him the lizard guy. Or the lizard man. That's essentially what they just call him for a while because they don't know what his name is. So he gets the objective to find out who cast the spell on the lizard man, because magic doesn't work on him. That's something that they've started to figure out throughout time, is that whoever placed the spell on him put a very high level spell on him to where magic doesn't affect him for some reason.
Which is insane.
Right, which is crazy by itself.
Like you would think that the body has to be, immune to magic, but somehow magic was placed on him by cursing him to be a lizard head. So how does that work?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting part too. So with Fujita trying to figure out who placed the spell, he gets led to Ebisu, and I will say I feel so bad for what happens to Ebisu in the beginning.
Yeah.
Again, the show can be just so brutal.
Just a little bit.
It was brutal. So brutal, in fact, that it scarred her for a good long while.
Yeah, for sure. Ajax, what do you think of whenever they were like, "Oh, you didn't even get to ask her your question"?
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think back at that point, knowing things later.
True,
Yeah.
but it is kind of nuts to think that Kaiman ended up putting Ebisu's head in his mouth, and Ebisu got ripped out, but he held on with such force that his like dagger alligator teeth just ripped her face off.
Yeah. Yeah. That part was just wild to me. Like,
Because at that point,
although, like, to be fair, right? Her face wouldn't have gotten ripped off if it wasn't for
Fujita.
what's his dick? Yeah, Fujita, but pulling on her arm and trying to drag her out. Right.
If he didn't do that,
So,
though,
like-
we would have gotten an answer to a question right then and there.
Right. So, like, they had to do it, and I think it made sense.
because they never get to ask,
And-
because you end up seeing the person in his mouth gets out, you are, and then by then Fujita is pulling her away, so we don't know if she is the one who put the spell on him or not.
Yeah.
Well, and then you find out that Noe actually has healing magic that she releases from her mouth, and she ends up healing Ebisu, and she says, yeah, her memory isn't going to come back for a little while, but her face is at least healed, and she is just absolutely batshit crazy for the next little while. Like in the clothing store where Fujita has to get clothes for Ebisu and himself, and he's like, yeah, does she shop here very often? Oh yeah, Ebisu has a new wardrobe here, and he gets it, and it's just like pieces of fabric that have like a template, and all of them have zippers all over them, and when he puts it all together, he's like, that's not gonna work. If she wears it like this, her boobs will hang out. And then he has to rush so much that they get there and her boob is just still hanging out. Noe's like, is that what's fashionable now? It's so good.
Yeah, everything involving Ebisu is hilarious. Minus the
like
minus the face ripping off.
She is chaos for the sake of chaos, and I love that for her.
It is very interesting to see. She reminds me a lot of Anya from Spy Family for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just her energy, man. Her energy. At one point she's like singing a little song like Fujita, he is so dumb. Like that's just something that I just see Anya doing, or whenever she's talking to N at one point and she says, boss is mean. It just makes me think of Anya, of like, Papa's a liar.
Yeah.
Papa's a really big liar.
Papa's. I love Anya. Spy Family was also a good anime, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No. Well, dude, what did you, so in the beginning, you find out that all sorcerers have an egg, and it's part of like their soul.
The tumor.
Yeah.
Fujita ends up,
The
No.
tumor?
Fujita ends up taking Matsumoto's egg and putting it in that like fountain, like making a wish for his resurrection. And then later on, Shin, Noe, and N and Fujita go to... No, Fujita doesn't go to that. It's N, Noe, and Shin go to that resurrection party where that sorcerer is supposed to bring people back to life, and gives them nose plugs. And they get super confused about it, and they walk in, they realize it smells horrible, and it's just because there's corpses hanging by their feet from the ceiling. And there's flies everywhere. And that's where a sorcerer was supposed to come to resurrect all these people, as long as they brought like a gift. It was like a high-end people's party of some kind. And that was where he makes a comment to Fujita about, hey man, like if you would have been able to get his body back in one piece, like we could have brought him back. But it is kind of cool, like you were talking, the tumor that's in their head, how like they all have a tumor behind their eye that's in the shape of a demon. It's kind of weird.
Very, very weird.
What did
You think
how'd
maybe
you guys feel
you think maybe the process of becoming a devil involves that thing growing, perhaps?
Or
Or
hatching.
hatching, something
Maybe.
like that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, oh, what was it? There was another anime that talked about like having like the demon lord seed. Oh,
It's slime. Yeah.
slime. Yeah. Duh. Like, I'm wondering if it's something similar to that, right? Like something that needs to be that's like nurtured inside
Right.
of them.
I do kind of wish you got to see the devils just a little bit more because you only get like little tastes of them, and you do find out, which is one of the big parts that I really love about Noe's backstory, is you find out that she was in training to be a devil.
Yeah, and that's
I think it'll become important later
same.
on.
But that's kind of why I had that idea, because as her training was progressing, she started growing horns and a tail and stuff, kind of like the little demon thing.
The demon tumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. There is a lot with that whole scene that gets kind of wild, because that whole scene ends up being just a weird bit of information where one of the people at the party is basically like a drug dealer of this world. He's selling the synthesized powder or whatever that's supposed to make their smoke more powerful. And he gave it to the sorcerer who is supposed to give life, and it turns out that it's just a fraud sorcerer who has the real sorcerer who brings people back to life under her dress, and she was taking all the powder. That way she would be able to handle all of the smoke from the sorcerer. Mm-hmm. Which En was trying to make that sorcerer potentially his partner, because in their little society, they all have partners. Noe and Shin are a group. Fujita and Matsumura. Right. So he definitely needs a partner, it looks like. They don't really explicitly say it's required, but a lot of things in their society seem like it's partner based.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why did he wait? Why did En wait so long to take
He
a
had
partner?
a partner.
If it's
En had a partner.
Oh, you're right.
It was Chota.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But Chota is annoying.
Yeah. I do like once they realize who the person in Kaiman's mouth is supposed to be, because that whole arc is really cool as well. Them finding out that, because even at during one of the crazy nightmares that Kaiman has, because that's when Nikaido and Kaiman go to the restaurant in the sorcerer's world. And he drinks the drink that they give him for free. And when he drinks that, he ends up going to the bathroom to vomit, and he like passes out and starts having one of those like crazy fever dreams. And he gets the name of the person at the same time that Noe and Shin are talking about it. So they all find out it's that Risu, who's part of the Cross Eyes gang, which is always been something that's a little bit weird, is that Kaiman has always had these like crosses over his eyes, and seeing as he has no memory, he has.
Well, they found out who Risu was, because one of them, I can't remember which one, was inside of Kaiman's mouth and saw the person. So they went to.
That was Shin.
Yeah, so
that was Shin.
There was Shin, and then they went to Turkey, who was an associate of En, who makes living dolls. Had Shin make a doll, right? Had Shin make a doll from his memory of seeing the person, and they came out and became Risu. Then they just followed him for a day, go to his home, and for some reason in a safe they find his head.
Which it had been there for a while.
It was a skull at that point.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it was very much just a little bit of flesh,
right? Just a little bit of flesh. You could kind of tell who it was. And then Kikurage, who is the life-bringing sorcerer, but is actually like a dog type thing. Brings the head back to life, and then
that's after Noe heals the.
Correct.
Flesh.
She healed the skull thing, and then Kikurage brought it back. I'm pretty sure it was at the same moment it was brought back to life is when Kaiman started having memories.
You're right. The first interaction with Shin, Noe, Kaiman, and Nikaido is one of those more intense scenes, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, because Nikaido is a badass, but so is Noe, and so is Kaiman, and so is Shin.
Well, the first interaction that they have where Shin's like, oh, I got this guy. And Noe's like, well, all right, well, I'll go attack this other person. And she says, I don't want to hurt you, but, I got to do it. And Noe just comes in, or Nikaido comes in with this huge kick. And she goes, whoa, that was awesome. My organs moved around in my body. Look. And she opens her mouth and just all this blood comes out. It's like Noe is a hard ass. Well, that's also where...
I mean, she's just psychotic.
Yeah, very much. But she's got some history with that, though.
Mm-hmm.
There's in that scene, there's the moment where Shin gets his head eaten, like shoved into Kaiman's mouth, and he runs into that person, like Jay-Z said, and that was also where Shin realized that he's gonna die if he doesn't do something, so he rips Kaiman's head off with the hammer that he uses as a weapon.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal, and I was not expecting that.
No, absolutely not. And then that's where a huge twist moment comes in, where you find out for sure Nikaido is actually a sorcerer, because she opens a door with her smoke and carries Kaiman's body and his head through the door. But Noe and Shin are too damaged. Specifically Shin, he's got that big knife sticking out of his gut from Kaiman. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't really follow. So that was a big moment, really, where it solidified that Nikaido is a sorcerer. And from that moment on, throughout the rest of the show, she's constantly worried about Kaiman finding out or if he'll accept her, because she really is a sorcerer, which throughout the whole show, his determination is to find the person who put the spell on him and then to get himself reverted back. More than likely, potentially also kill that sorcerer.
I mean, that's probably how he would remove whatever magic that the sorcerer did to him, is by killing the source.
Yeah, they do show that a couple different times throughout the show, like the bug guy. The guy,
yeah.
That was very interesting. There's a sorcerer going around, and he is testing his abilities on the people of the Hole, and everyone's going into the hospital where Kaiman works, because he works there literally just to try to talk to sorcerers. Try to find out potentially who did that to him, and they run into all those people who were turned into different parts of bugs, but he's just doing a really crappy job of it. And then Kaiman ends up killing that guy because he did put a spell on Nikaido as well, because she didn't realize it was him, but she was talking mad shit about him to him and didn't realize it. It's a wild show, man. There's a lot that happens in such a short amount of time, and it's for me, it's kind of even hard to keep everything in line with the order that it comes in, just because so much stuff happens.
And because of all like the flashbacks and everything, and it's just keeping an accurate storyline in my head was really difficult.
I will say the show,
but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was a good anime.
I will say the show itself is definitely something that you would almost need to rewatch. I know
I need to.
Jay-Z, you've said that very...
I need to.
Yeah, you guys have said it very definitively, because that was actually a comment that I made to both of you while we were watching, as I was like, this is weird. Like, you guys are just being quiet. I'm like, do you guys like it? And you were both like, no, it's good. I just have to pay attention the whole time.
Yeah, there's just...
Yeah, like if I wasn't paying attention and I zoned out for like a second, I was like, oh, what's happening? Oh, okay. I think I understand.
Is there a matchup you would like to see from any of the like sorcerers or any of the like people? I want to see more of Nikaido's ability for one.
Same. I want to see it used at all, which we haven't talked about what it is at all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the one big thing is like you do see whenever they're in the sorcerer's world, she puts her smoke in a jar and takes it to like a smoke shop and goes to sell it. And they don't tell you what it does, but they do tell you that the smoke is a very, very high purity and it's very powerful. So I would like to see more of her ability. I want to see more of what Ebisu can actually do.
I want to see Ebisu crash out, dude.
Bro, when she turned into a like raptor, that was pretty badass.
You're not wrong.
And then when she turned into the tiny lizard, that was more, part of the course.
It was a larva.
Yeah, it was a larva. Yeah, it was more powerful, of course.
Ebisu tried to Dragon Ball
Very
Z
on
transform,
brand.
and it failed so hard.
That's very on brand for Ebisu.
I want to see Tomba versus Noe.
Oh, why would you do that?
Because, I don't know, Tomba's cool.
What do you like about Tomba?
I don't know, I just like him. He kind of beats Kaiman's ass. And Kaiman can't do shit about it. Because he's Mr. President.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The job that he gets in the spirit world is so funny because it's like
I love that you keep calling it Spirit World, Mr.
I
Yu
know,
Hakusho.
the sorcerer's world. In the sorcerer's world, when Kaiman's there and he's trying to hunt down Nikaido because she went there to try to essentially help, but now she's stuck there. Mm-hmm. Whenever he realizes that he needs to get a job, and just the way he gets the job at the pie factory with the president is fantastic.
That was great. That was so good.
Just beats those dudes' asses.
Well,
and
that's the
like,
thing.
"Oh."
That's the thing is Tomba was taking care of business already. The only reason he stopped is because dude had a knife to his throat. His one of his workers. I can't remember that guy's name though.
Yeah, I always forget what that guy's name is. They only bring it up like a couple times.
Yeah, but that's another thing I want to see. I want to see him versus N because their powers are almost the same. N turns people into mushrooms. He turns people into any food, I think.
Pies.
But he definitely turns them into meat pies. But I think he said I think he just said it was food based. It doesn't mean it's always a pie, but it might always be a pie because we've only seen it once and it was a pie.
All the different sorcerer abilities are pretty cool in the fact that Shin can make cuts and like cut people up and keep them alive. Like it doesn't kill you somehow.
Fukuyama. Yeah. Shin's. You guys don't watch One Piece, or do you, Aaron? I can't remember.
I've watched it.
Okay. Well,
I didn't finish. I never
There's a character, Trafalgar Law. He has like the most broken devil fruit. But one of the abilities of his devil fruit is he can cut people apart without them dying. So it's kind of like Shin's, only there's no blood when Law does it. Whereas with Shin's, it's very bloody, and he makes Noe carry them in bags.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just thought about it. I want to see what's his nuts? I want to see Shin fight Johnson.
Yes. Will his magic work on the bug?
Dude, Johnson is such a surprise character because he just comes out of nowhere because Kaiman's trying to end up going down and getting Nikaido. And
shocking.
Because out of nowhere, she just goes into like the sewer. So he ends up running after her, and there's a dude trying to steal like little like marbles from inside of her because he's convinced that he'll be able to become a sorcerer if he collects enough of them. And then when Kaiman attacks him, he just yells for Johnson, and a enormous cockroach just comes flying out of nowhere and attacks him.
I wonder if that was them trying to hint to us that she was a sorcerer at that point.
I think so, because that was actually something that I was thinking as well. As well, he's been picking them out of normal people. So with Nikaido not having one, that just kind of leads you to think that she has to be a sorcerer. Mm-hmm. But that once Johnson ends up getting taken over by the professor later on, and all he can say is shocking because the professor has a shock module on him.
Which I love the professor, Kasukabe.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, but in like a very deadpan kind of way.
Kind of, yeah. It is kind of neat, though. Like, his character is an old man. He's in his 60s, but he got transformed back into a kid by a sorcerer whenever they were testing on him. They don't really specify either whether or not, like, his age is the only thing that, like, if his, like, body just shifted, or did he, like, revert back to a kid, but he's still got his same brain? Like, they don't really specify that. Right. So does he have, like, another 60 years to live now?
Right. That's a good point.
I do like his mindset too. Is like he doesn't care about whether you're a human, a sorcerer, whatever. He's just in it for the facts, and he's just in it for research.
Right, like he saved Shin's life when he was a kid.
Yeah,
which comes back to help him huge.
I'm really glad that they do go through some of the. I'm really glad that they do go through some moments where they really break down how things used to be, and they really show you the evolution of the world, where they do go back and talk about there was a point where the people of the Hold didn't deal with the sorcerers. Yeah. They had literally a whole squad that was designed to find and kill sorcerers. They were like, being a sorcerer was pretty much illegal.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of a fair response considering what the sorcerers were doing to people. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong by any means.
Right? No, they weren't wrong to have that, though. At the same time, they were kind of wrong to try to kill Shin and his dad because Shin's mom was a sorcerer.
Dude, that's so brutal anyway, what happens to Shin's dad, because you were required to call in if you had suspicions of somebody being a sorcerer, and the shop owner where Shin and his dad worked saw that when Shin cut himself that his blood had the little black particles in it, which is essentially his smoke in his blood. So he called it in, and when Shin's getting away, his dad tries to stop the guys from chasing him and says, no, look, Shin's not a sorcerer. He can't use magic. His mother was a sorcerer, and then they cut him off and they're like, oh, well, you knew his mom was a sorcerer? Well, that immediately makes you guilty. And then they take him back and beat him to death in his own house and then just leave him there for Shin to find. That's so traumatizing, man.
Yeah.
These people had such hard lives.
Yeah. Although Shin didn't take no shit and he was a badass when he was a teenager.
I mean, yeah, that's where he got his signature hammer of doom that he carries around.
Mm-hmm.
He beat all those dudes to death with a hammer. Which I do think is really badass what he does with it sometimes, where he'll use the back end that you normally use to pull nails out. He'll catch knives and blades and stuff in there and break them.
Yeah, he caught Kaiman's knife the one time and snapped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sick. I love Shin.
Shin and Noe are actually unbelievably reasonable people too, which is kind of funny for being what they call cleaners, which are just essentially
they do their job.
Yeah. How many
they're the
times,
most level-headed, I think.
How many
especially
times
Shin. Noe can go fly off the handle pretty easily sometimes.
I mean, she likes to fight people.
Yeah.
How many times did they say we didn't plan on people dying today?
All the time. Shin didn't want to kill any of these people. Well, not any of them. Most of the time when he goes to clean, he's only looking for a specific person. He doesn't want to kill all these people, but they don't want to let their boss go or whatever.
Yeah, he's not about killing indiscriminately. He wants to be surgical with it.
He wants to efficiently do his job.
I was stoked whenever you guys got to see where they introduced Shin and Noe. And you just see Noe shoving a dude's face through a wall, and then they look at the whole room, and every single wall just has people with their face inside the wall.
Right, and that's where you see the real divide between the two. Because Shin's like, oh, I had to kill 6 today. And she's like, Shin, we both killed 6.
Right. Well, she gets the same giddiness whenever they go to the Hold to try to find Kaiman and Nikaido. And they show up on that Halloween night. Halloween night. When the
zombies,
smoke that rains down from the sorcerers, it actually affects the world so much that it starts bringing people in the cemeteries back to life. And whenever they were buried, they actually put dog tags inside of their bodies, so they actually have a game out of it. So Kaiman and Nikaido are trying to win a meat grinder for her shop. I think it was 160 tags. They had to kill 160 zombies to get it. That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
You have to figure that take a while. I couldn't take the priests seriously though. The monks, Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, as they're using fire extinguishers to spray on the zombies.
How about the Dr. Vox? He gets left alone and he's about to die, and then they just leave him, and then it goes back, and he's like, "Oh, I'm glad he liked eating the dumpling or whatever it was that had like poison
dumplings.
in it."
Yeah, he poisoned dumplings. Yeah, that's my first thought. In the zombie apocalypse, I'm going to make some poisoned dumplings. That is actually a really funny scene.
It worked.
It did, yeah. You saw his mouth just foaming. That is also a really great scene because it makes Noe mad because Fujita takes his eyes off of Ebisu for 10 seconds and she starts getting eaten by a zombie and then she gets turned into a zombie. Immediately tries to go eat Shin. Oh man, the amount of wild stuff that happens in the show. I was really stoked when En got punched by Nikaido and he freaked the fuck out.
And he basically just started spewing smoke like crazy, like he couldn't stop it.
Yeah, you saw his eyes went like pure white, like there was nothing there.
Which, according to his movie that he wrote, directed, recorded, and starred in, that like when I don't think it was the day he was born, but eventually, well, the day he was born, the whole room of things were turned into mushrooms. But like much later, an entire district of a city was turned into mushrooms. Mm-hmm. So like after you see that scene, you're like, okay, maybe that actually did happen.
Oh yeah, you just see from the side of his just enormous castle, palace, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like mushrooms, enormous, just starts breaking through the walls and climbing higher than the building itself. Like it's crazy how much power he has.
Like his power to turn things into mushrooms. Yeah, that's kind of scary because like you can just get turned into a mushroom. But at the same time, if he couldn't produce much smoke, it wouldn't really be that threatening. But the fact that he can produce a shit ton of smoke makes him scary.
Oh yeah, he accidentally almost turned Noe and Shin into mushrooms on multiple occasions, to where Noe actually had to heal Shin.
Yeah, after she knocked En out.
Yeah, she had to go knock En out, which is funny because En is Noe's cousin.
Yeah, which is probably why he didn't like kill her afterwards.
Right. Man, the show is just it's so good, man. The amount of stuff that happens, all the different twists and turns that happen in it, the crazy dreams that happen, the just sheer amount of power that some of these people have. It's so diverse, man. It's wild.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about is, what was it, the Blue Night? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the night where, well, it's a 3-night affair, but 4-night affair. But it's basically to find partners, but then they show you the way that you sign your contract with partners. That was wild.
Yeah, I was expecting you guys to get a little bit freaked out by that one.
Yeah, and that's where you first kind of first meet Chidoruma, which kind of moving forward, it seemed like he's like the head devil, at least in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's who has to oversee the contracts.
Yeah. Because there's a few moments where
Nikaido?
Yes, Nikaido. Whenever she goes to talk to a devil, and it's always Asu.
Asu, yeah.
And then you find out that Asu was her devil. And whenever she lived there, she moved to the hole as a kid. So
yeah,
he did before.
That's something we didn't find out, right? She left because someone close to her died, but I don't think we ever found out who it was.
No, they don't tell you that. At least not yet. The new season got confirmed for this year, so I will be excited to check out the new season.
That's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. They haven't put a date on it yet, but it has been fully confirmed and announced, and I've been seeing it all over, and I'm super stoked about that. Because I do think the show deserves to continue because of how deep the story does get. I was really glad that I got you guys to watch the extra episode as well, where it's like a lot of just little shorts.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was really cool to see Nikaido get in their shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super cool because you find out that her restaurant, which is called the Hungry Bug, used to be a little tea shop. And the tea shop was run by a guy who chose that location because it's so close to where sorcerers appear a lot in the hole, because he caters to everybody. He doesn't discriminate, which is why he's hated in the hole as well. So that does kind of stink because he is just a super welcoming guy. Because back then, Nikaido was just walking around selling gyoza just as a traveling vendor, essentially. She had a dream of starting her own shop, but she didn't have the money for it. And this guy took her in without any money and gave her a wonderful treatment, tea, and she offers to be the bouncer there because some dudes come in and start like beating him up and attacking the shop. So she just kicks all their asses and becomes the bouncer there. So she gets like free food and tea at the end of her shifts. And then once you find out that the one customer who's there every single day is actually a devil, that was so cool. Finding out that a devil will travel there every single day just to get his tea.
Yeah.
And the devils you find out are all-knowing. So that is crazy to think that an all-knowing being has decided.
Not necessarily all-knowing, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Because Asu says he knows everything, but he also says, I wonder why this or I wonder why that. So he's definitely not all-knowing, but he also tells them where someone is. So he knows a lot.
I have to feel like they have to use all-knowing as like a pretty broad spectrum just because like they know a shit ton. But I mean, because you even see Asu is sitting on the steeple of the building that he's sitting on. He says, I wonder who Kaiman is. I wonder if Nikaido is safe. I wonder if...
Right.
So you're right. There is a lot of unknowns there that Asu, who is a devil, who should know things, just isn't sure of.
Right.
So it is kind of interesting how some of those kinds of beings are being tricked or misled. And the moment where you really do find out that Nikaido has to be a powerful, or she says, I'm unique, is when once she enters that sorcerer world, the first day a devil approaches her and gives her a business card. And then during the Blue Night, when En takes her to the building to sign his contract with her, forcibly, I will say, 3-4 devils all show up at once?
Yeah, I think it was 3. One of them being Chidoruma.
Because Asu is trying to keep things from him. Mm-hmm. So you know that he's up there.
Right.
But all of them come and feel like they have to personally hand Nikaido a business card because they want her favor.
Mm-hmm.
So
because, as you find out when En, after purchasing the smoke shop that she had gone to, finds out that through the registry that it was time magic that she has, and he had been looking for a time magic user.
Which everyone told him never existed.
Right. Which that was wild when you find that out, and then you find out his actual goal, because it seems like, and this was part of that movie that he wrote, directed, and started and everything. It seems like everyone's story converged at one point. And that point is the creation of Kaiman. Seemingly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I have a very similar, if not the same, theory as to who Kaiman actually is.
Right, but I'm starting to have some other questions. Because once you find out who Risu is, especially after seeing him inside of Kaiman, you're like, okay, is he Risu? And the fact that he's missing a head, you're like, is he Risu? But then you meet Risu's partner, Aikawa, who is a bigger guy, very athletic, strong. And then you also find out in kind of it wasn't a memory, it was kind of like it was like something inside of Kaiman was talking to himself, saying, because he was fighting Nikaido at the time, but she was under En's influence. Something was like, are you going to kill another friend? So you're like, oh, is he Aikawa? Did Aikawa kill Risu? Is he both? Is Aikawa and Risu the same person?
That's fair.
It's there's a lot of questions that we're gonna need answered next season.
Absolutely. Is there a moment where you guys really feel like you got sucked into the show?
Right away, like immediately.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they don't start
100% agree with Jay-Z. Like,
what was that, Aaron? Ajax?
I 100% agree with you. Like, it started off like
They give you the mysteries right
full
away.
sprint. Yeah,
That's really fair. And I want to know more of what happened in that alley.
Yeah. Well, that's what that alley is. Something happened to Kaiman. Nikaido found him. 'Cause I'm not sure she just found him. I think she's involved a little more than that. That seemingly is also where N wants to go back to because he was there supposedly. And potentially Aikawa was there. Maybe we don't know. All we know is there was a headless body walking away, and that's what everybody seems to remember.
Right.
And that body ended up being Kaiman once his head grew back into a...
that with Nikaido.
Yeah, because she found the headless body when it came back or something, is what she said.
He was in the body bag walking down the hallway.
Yeah, they put the headless body in the body bag, and the body bag walked. And then she took him to the doctors, and he woke up with the reptile head. The lizard head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we already found out from earlier on in the show that he can grow his head back because Shin rips it off at one point. Like, genuinely rips his head off with the hammer.
Right.
And then it grows back. Which then no one even expected. They didn't even realize that he could grow his head back. Well, the doc says, I've heard of lizards growing tails, but whole heads?
Right.
The dissection scene of his head is actually insane because of what happens during that dissection. Because, they originally tried to take pictures of what's going on in Kaiman's mouth because Kaiman says, cameras can catch the supernatural. It's like, it's not supernatural, it's a person. Like, but they end up going in with the doc, starting to dissect his head, and Kaiman tells him to go all the way to the back of the throat because they already took his brain out. They found out his brain was normal for a human, which of course the doc makes that smart ass remark of, I thought it's a whole brain. Like, I figured reptiles only have
brain
left
or
sides.
whatever. Oh yeah, that's right.
And then as soon as they start starting to get to the back of his neck, all the lights and shit go out. And as they're trying to turn them all back on, you hear that voice. And then they come back and the head's just missing. Like, it really makes me have to wonder if this being that's inside of Kaiman is truly trapped, or if it's I don't want to say a housing, but is he able to leave Kaiman's body without him knowing?
Right.
In
which case, are there now two Risus potentially walking around sometimes?
I mean, there was at one point because Turkey made him a doll, but
right.
Shin
and then there was Robot Risu with Risu's revived head on a robot powered by N smoke, which then Noe accidentally super healed and gave him his whole body back.
Yeah, she did an AoE heal to try to heal herself and Shin at the same time, and she just happened to heal Risu's entire body at the same time. I do want to talk about, though, of Noe moving into her devil training and how that all transpired. Dude, that is actually
kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a really sad section of the show, but it's such a heartwarming moment too, because it really shows, because they really kind of address it that Shin and Noe are not an item. They're not.
No, they're friends. Well, they're partners, but they're actually friends. They probably don't admit it, but they are. But at the same time, when he has that memory of the dance, I think that was one of the shorts, though. I don't know if those are canon, but he has the memory of the dance.
No,
he remembers.
Were the shorts.
Yeah, he remembers that he danced with Noe, and then he finds her in the present, and he's like, "Oh, that was you."
Yeah.
So like maybe there secretly is something there, but I don't know if that's canon because it was one of the shorts. But anyway.
But you do run into just the beginning of that story where you find out that Shin just got hired by N, and his arms are decaying because whenever he was still in the hole, he was trying to find his smoke ducts and just kept cutting off sections of his arms until he could find them. And then the professor actually saves his life in a way by putting his arms back together, telling him, hey, just so you know, like, you'll be able to create smoke now because, the professor doesn't have anything against any sorcerer. He just wants to do all of his research. So he helps put Shin's smoke ducts where they need to go so he can actually use magic.
Right. But then he tells him his arms are just going to slowly rot away because they're not really, really attached.
Right. And then when he meets Noe, kind of in a way, because he ends up doing a dine and dash at one of N's restaurants, and Noe goes to like hunt him down, and Noe ends up healing him, and then they're getting ready to fight, and Shin gets away, like knocks her out with his hammer.
And he says, I owe you one for healing me.
Huh?
He says, as he's running away, I'm pretty sure he says, I owe you one for healing me.
Yeah, correct. So he does end up going back to the restaurant, and they end up becoming more and more acquainted with each other, and that's really where you find out that she's wearing 300-pound armor 24 hours a day as part of her devil training. And the badass scene where she has to carry one of the devil's bats to feed it, and you find out that she's scaling a mountain with a gigantic bat the size of her on her back while she's wearing 300-pound armor, just to give it like a berry.
Yeah.
It shows how devoted she was to it, and I mean, honestly, how strong she is.
Right, but the biggest test was not being able to use her magic for a whole year.
Yep. That wouldn't have been bad that she was on her last 3 days.
Right.
But that was during the Blue Night at that point. And they do tell you in the Blue Night where Nikaido gets forced into a contract with N that it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get the person to the building to sign the contracts, it doesn't matter if they're dead or alive. Or if they're forced
out or...
Yeah. They said by any means necessary. So there is a point where they talk about N and Nikaido and... They're not Nikaido. N, Noe, Shin, they're all going to be targets for people to try to kill them, knock them out, do anything that they can to try to sign contracts with them. And a sorcerer blew up N's restaurant and almost killed Shin. So Noe had to use her magic to heal him.
Well, no, the thing blew up and they were fine, but then he was about to shoot Noe, and Shin was like, I told you I'd pay you back for healing my arm, jumps in the way and gets messed up. And then she could have let him die, but
she healed him.
Right. And then immediately lost her devil training, whatever.
Which she was growing horns and a tail.
Right. Which was cool. It was really cool, actually.
She even said that, too. She took her mask off at one point. She's like, aren't these things cool?
Yeah, and the thing with Shin was like, oh, we're probably not going to be able to see each other, really, once you become a devil. But
it just goes to show all the loyalty that's been between them. There's a lot of history with them, and they've been through a lot together. I do like their just general sense of camaraderie, even whenever they kill all those guys and Shin tells her don't get the cheap trash bags, and then she buys the cheap trash bags because that's all she could find, and they break on her whenever they've got that body that Shin cut up and is inside of it and sprays everywhere. He's like, well, you did the wrong thing, so you're going to clean these up by yourself to think about what you did. There is a lot of comedy in it. I feel like Ebisu is the comedic relief in the whole show. Honestly. And Johnson, yeah. Shocking! Once the professor gets his hands on Johnson, it's so good. They play baseball, and they just control Johnson to get him to run all the way to third base. It's so fantastic. I still think one of the best parts about that scene is when Nikaido hits the ball and it goes through that dude's glove and smacks him in the face.
Yeah, game over.
Absolutely.
Right. So overall,
Yeah.
this is a great show. I am excited for season 2. One thing I want to start. I've already started a new segment that we'll do at the end, but I want to start another new segment that we kind of talked about as a whole group. Rewatch or regret. I think this one's pretty obvious, seeing as 2 of us said we have to rewatch it, and the other one has rewatched it many times. So
Yeah.
so that
This one's definitely a rewatch for sure. I think.
absolutely.
Oh, this is an
rewatch.
easy rewatch.
Yes.
Easy rewatch.
Easily. It's actually
this
mandatory for me because I need to.
I do think that this is absolutely a rewatch, but this is also something I would tell somebody not to like rush through. This
Right.
is one that you really do want to sit back and really watch it and pick out some things. So I mean, we've even talked about some little things that
Yeah.
we might have missed, could have missed.
I'm gonna go detective mode next time I watch.
It's a lot to unravel, man. And I mean, that was again the biggest thing that I was like kind of afraid of in the beginning was I was like, man, is like are they even liking the show? Like I don't know, it's been quiet, but no, there's a lot to unpack and a lot to really dive into. And I'm really curious to see how season 2 goes because they've already got such a massive plot line building that I'm curious to see where
The thing is, are we going to get answers in season 2, or are we just going to get more questions?
I hope we get a lot more questions.
Probably both.
Probably both, yeah. All right, and then the other segment. What have you guys been watching lately?
I'm a creature of habit, man. I'm just I think I've rewatched Dorohedoro like 19 times, and I do really. I'm about to start Undead Unluck. I do really look forward to starting that show soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I got my fiance to start reading because it's one that she had in the library and thought it sounded cool, and she said it was actually really good. So I'm kind of excited to start watching it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. What about you, Ajax? What have you been watching?
I've been watching a whole lot of random stuff. Let me take a look at my history real quick.
Well, while he's looking, I'll say mine. Solo Leveling Season 2 is out, and that was the first manhwa I ever read, and I absolutely love it, and the show is so good. I also just restarted Tower of God Season 1 because I need to watch Season 2, but it had been so long in between seasons that I forget most of Season 1. But it's very good.
So I'm doing a whole lot of rewatching stuff
That's fine.
that I've watched previously.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like I'm keeping up to date on Solo Leveling because Season 2, and holy
So
crap.
good. I can't wait.
but I've
I can't wait till
also-
it's over in dub so I can rewatch it in dub because Alex Lee is a legend.
Oh, I love Alex Lee, dude. But I've been watching. I just finished the Aristocrats Otherworldly Adventure, which is an isekai.
We love them isekais.
Oh yeah,
I also love them isekais.
trash anime.
Yeah.
Man, I love trash anime, and I consider like 90% of isekai trash.
Because it is. There's some gems though.
My diamonds in the rough.
Yeah,
That's just
Diamonds in the Rough is a
that's
very
a sour subject.
Look, man, I'm just trying to let my ego out. Okay.
We'll visit that someday.
Yeah, someday we'll get that. We'll come back to that topic eventually. But no, I feel like I'm excited for the next move. How do you guys feel about our next subject we're about to touch on? That Shangri-La Frontier.
I love it.
Oh, dude, I'm hyped.
Absolutely love it.
I'm hyped. Such a good anime.
I'm hyped for Nick to watch it. One thing I got to bring up: both intros are very good.
Both intros are good?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know that whenever you put that one out there, I was very interested just by the name, so I was really kind of excited to jump into it, and then I started looking at the covers of the mangas, and I was like, oh, this is actually
It's Sword Art Online, but doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah, I'm very excited to start this next one. So Shangri-La Frontier will be that next episode that you guys should look out for. I'm really excited to get jumping in on it. And Ajax, I'm glad that you were able to jump in with us and really talk about an awesome show.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for asking me to join.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Binge Watch Brigade. We are very excited to continue on and keep moving. Look out for that next episode.
Super excited about the rebrand.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, super excited about that. I love our new name.
We will see you on that next episode. Thank you guys for watching and listening.
Peace.
See ya.